Good afternoon, ladies and gents. It's the 26th of April, 2025, and this session is a follow-on from part one. Now, I'm going to apologize for part one. It kind of went on for a bit, but it was information we needed to sort of cover. But it's the 72-hour preparedness pack, and I'll try and keep this one short as possible. We've spoken about the possible threats and how important it is to understand said threats before we even begin to prepare any supplies for you and your family. While we're talking about family, we might as well start there. Firstly, how many people are we preparing for? A good starting place is going to be yourself. Okay, so start with yourself and then those other members that are living under the same roof as you. Everything in prepping is it's going to cost something, whether that be money and or time. Either way, there will be a cost, and you're going to have to ask yourself whether the cost in your well-earned money and or your valuable time is worth placing you and your family in a position of safety. That's the question you've got to ask yourself, guys. If you haven't got time, find it. That's it. That's it's as simple as that. Find the time. For me, I love my family and I want to protect them, and it is for that reason I will do everything in my power to make sure any possible discomfort and pain is kept to a bare minimum. So for us right now, it's money. With only one of us working at the moment, and that person is only doing part-time hours. This journey is and has been so far. It's been a bit difficult, to be honest. Um, it's nice. It's nice to not have that financial sort of burden, and it allows you, free rein to go and sort of do your preps a little bit better. But that's part of the process. So I'm going to be honest with you, a true survivor. And that's not necessarily, when I say that, I don't mean a survivor out in the field, living off the land and stuff like that. It's people that can just survive. But, a true survivor can deal with any issue and problems, but also has the ability to turn those problems into challenges instead of sitting around moaning about said issues and blaming everyone else. So, of course, it would be nice, to order. Well, it'd be nice, like I just said, to order all of that top branded kit that some of you can go off and do. And I'd love, to go off and get plenty of that dry freezed food for this family to live on for a year. But that's simply not the case. And, we have to adapt to what we have, what we can do, and our current sort of situation and surroundings. Anyway, I want to talk about these proposed preparedness kits. The reason why I've said that, guys, is because I'm in one position and you guys are going to be in different positions. Some of you are going to be financially better off, and some of you might be slightly worse, and others might be the same. It doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is, I'm just telling you about me. We don't have much money, and so that changes our ability, and some of our options, to be fair. But anyway, let's get out of there. I want to talk about these proposed preparedness kits. Many are talking about at the moment, and I'm going to leave the 72-hour part out of it for now, and you'll see why in a minute. Now we've established how many people we're planning for. Let's start with the lone soldier, a single person who isn't responsible for anyone else but themselves. Let's be honest, that's going to be the easiest option for obvious reasons. They've only got one person to prepare for. Governments around the world most prominent in but by the way, I'm going to change the screen in a minute. We're going to get off of this thumbnail, and we're going to go through some content. But governments around the world, I was saying, most prominent in Europe are pushing this 72-hour preparedness narrative. And I've covered their recommendations as a collective. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, and we'll go through it in a minute, is I've gone through the government's recommendations and their preparedness booklets and their advice, support, help, and stuff like that. And I've kind of pulled them all together to come up, with meaningful sort of questions and answers. But just to give anyone out there who's not aware of this imminent crisis, just let me provide you with some information, okay, guys? If you're new to this, or you've been living under a rock somewhere, or you've just been consumed by social media and other life's challenges, then let me just I'm gonna let's bring this up. I'm just going to throw some articles in just for you to kind of have a quick look at. And then we'll move on to the 72-hour pack, okay? Because that's what these videos are about. But like I say, we're here to, enlighten you, okay? So if you haven't heard about these emergency packs that we're being encouraged to create, I'm just going to show you some articles that are providing this information or sending us down this narrative. Survival guides, evacuations, huge bunkers, and conscription. That was on the 21st of March. Okay, so this is not old news. This is not old news by any means. EU urges all citizens to prepare for war with survival kits, including food and water to survive 72 hours amid fears of World War III. Okay, look, guys, I'm not here to scaremonger. I'm just giving you facts. Okay, I can't scaremonger. You can't see the facts. I'm giving you facts. I'm not making stuff up. I'm showing you what the web is telling millions of people. Okay. Would you survive 72 hours? Germany and Nordic countries prepare citizens for possible war. Remember, the key word here, guys, there is that possible. But again, that depends on where you live. For us in the UK, we're on an island. We are further west than the other European countries that are up against the Russian border. Okay, so it could be more possible for us. It could be possible for us, but more likely for other countries. Let's just move on from there. Um, Then we've got Wolfleton survival guides, mass evacuation tube bunkers. Anyway, that was the same as the other one, just a different outlet. Let's come across. Let's get some more. Oh, that's the sun. Yeah. Anyway, the sun. Poland to issue emergency guide in case of war or crisis. So what I'm trying to say, guys, is that we are being told. It's just that you're not necessarily seeing it on mainstream news that you'll see daily on your TVs. But if you go looking for it, you'll find it. Just a couple more. I'm just going to give you a couple more here. All items required in a 72-hour survival kit, as 450 million people warned to prepare due to rising tensions. 450 million Europeans are being advised to get themselves prepared with this 72-hour emergency kit. Last but not least, we'll leave it there after this one. EU advises citizens to stockpile food and have 72-hour emergency kit ready amid warfares. Right, guys, I'm just going to put it out there. If for any reason there are people sat there thinking that this is a load of rubbish, there's a problem. There's a problem with you guys, or those guys. I'm not going to say you guys, because I'm hoping the people that are watching this are kind of on my side. But anyone else out there, if you're on my side with this, you will find that when you try and have this conversation with other people outside of the loop, shall we say, or outside of the bubble, they will look at you like they'll look at you, their eyes will glaze over, and they'll look at you like you're from a different planet. It's a defense mechanism. Basically, they don't want to accept the fact that their whole worlds could be turned upside down. Okay, it's as simple as that. And but don't blame them. But ignorance will get them killed, them and their families. Anyway, let's move on quickly before I get myself into trouble. Um, the Polish, I'm going to go through three, four, maybe five preparedness booklets. This is similar to this. Right. No, it's not. Yeah, it is. Right. Countries across Europe have published and deployed preparedness booklets. And within those booklets, you'll get this 72-hour preparedness pack advice, shall we say. So I just want to show you what other countries are doing, because the video before this, we kind of covered what the UK were doing, or the UK government, in terms of information on what we should be doing. And quite frankly, they're pathetic. I'm not going to go down that, but that's the UK government. They're a complete waste of time. The Polish preparedness booklet talks about water first. I'm just going to quickly drop down. I'm not going to go through these booklets. I'm just going to show you just bits of these booklets. What should be included in the evacuation backpack? Where are we? No, they don't talk about water first. I thought these guys, no, last. Right. Okay. So the reason why I'm talking about the order of these items is if you're going to prepare and be in that prepping mindset, you have to think about what you're preparing for and what items are most important. Now, water has to be at the very top of your list. Okay, it has to be. I'm not. Let's not cover these items just yet. Let's just go through these booklets. But anyway, what I'm saying is, Poland have released this booklet out to its people. Okay, um, and it covers all sorts of stuff. It's quite detailed. Let's zoom in a bit so we can see what's going on. Yeah, it's quite detailed. I can't find this on the UK.gov.uk site. I can't see that. However, Poland is up against the Russian border, so we can understand that. Lithuania. Let's just do that. Hopefully verifying it. Verifying you're human. Yeah, this may take a few seconds. Yeah, how's it doing that? Um, The Lithuanian booklet places also water last. Now, what I'm trying to say is if I'm the government and I'm going to be advising my population on, getting prepared and getting this kit together, I'm going to do it in order of priority. That's what I'm going to do because I work along logic. However, the governments don't. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that there's a list there, and I think water's down here somewhere. Okay. Norway. Remember, guys, these are countries in Europe. They're not too far away from the UK. That's if you're living in the UK as a viewer. How to contribute to Norway's emergency preparedness, and then off they go. Clean drinking water stored there, right? So Norway, in my eyes, are switched on. Or in terms of the government or whoever's put this out there. Is this a government? It might not be the government, but anyway, that one's, that I like that because there's there's a level of logic there. Moving across, Swedish or Sweden, should we say? They pushed out a booklet to, was it 5 million residents, I think. This was posted out to. You can get it on the PDF as well. Let's just go to page 5. Together we make Sweden stronger, page 5. So this is during times, oh, I can't see that again. So let me zoom in. Yeah, so together we make Sweden stronger during times of crisis or war. Okay, they're telling you. Um, the UK government are only going to be able to hide this for so long. And when the shit hits the fan, that's when they'll tell you. And for some it will be too late. Um, why are we looking at this one? Anyway, I'm going to come away from that. But what I'm trying to say here with Sweden, the title of their booklet in case of war, in case of crisis or war. Yep. So what I'm trying to say is with these booklets, the people are being told, and any of them that didn't get told, the EU, the main chair of the EU made a public announcement to 450 million Europeans and telling them to get this 72-hour pack ready. Okay. Finland. Let's have a quick look there. Um, Again, there's your list. These are the things that we're kind of looking at. These are the things that should be kind of added. Um, oh no, that's telling you. I quite like this actually. How disruptions may impact your everyday life. So it becomes more difficult to prepare food. The fridge freezers thaws. Well, obviously, if you get a grid down or power down, let's go back to the power outage or the transformer on fire down there in West London a couple of weeks ago, taking out 60,000 buildings in terms of power, and also Heathrow Airport. Now, I've done two videos on that. I believe that is as a result of a cyber attack. Um, the two videos I've done go into quite depth and detail on why I believe that was a cyber attack on the UK's critical infrastructure. What I'm trying to say is, if that was the case, again, that's only speculation because I don't have any concrete evidence of that. But watch the videos and you might be on my side. But you, you know, if your power goes out, you need to understand what that actually means. Okay, you've got 12 hours before anything that's in your fridge is done, and then you've got 24 hours before any of your food in your freezer is done. Okay, after that, it's finished. After 24 hours, people are going to start getting anxious. After 48 hours, people are going to start panicking. Then off they go to the supermarkets. We got the panic buys, the shelves being cleared, la 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 la. Anyway, let's forget about that. But what I'm trying to say is these are, these are likely scenarios for us here in the UK. We might not get those tanks and soldiers walking the streets of the UK, but if you hybrid warfare and cyber attacks, yeah, like that's happening all the time anyway. So just be prepared. Last but not least, we have Latvia. This one, I think was the most comprehensive. There you go into, is it Latvia or Lithuania? That's typical. Let's get that on there. Yeah, it might not be actually. There's not many pages here. But again, yeah, what to do in the case of a crisis, and they go through certain scenarios and the different types of kit. I like this as well. This was quite good. Um, QR codes out to, they're giving you sort of access to resources, whether it's a QR code, numbers, website addresses, and stuff like that. But that's the Latvian government. What I'm trying to say, guys, is that we have the UK, and actually the UK government, in terms of preparing its citizens or civilians with critical information, is, in my eyes, beyond pathetic. But then that's the shit show of a government we've got here in the UK. This is right. Listen, I'm just going to show you. This is what they're preparing us for. I think it's on this. This is the UK. Okay, so this is the UK. Here we go. Emergencies did happen. Da, 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 da. Get prepared for emergencies. And the two emergencies that they're going to talk about here um, are, hopefully you can see that, fire and floods. That's what they're preparing us for. Anyway, never mind. Guys, no matter what you do and how you do it, first and foremost, water. I'm going back to the contents of this 72-hour sort of pack. Water has to be at the very top of your list of items, whether that be bottled water, a life drinking straw, or straws, depending on how many people you've got to prepare for, water purification tablets, other water sort of filtering and purification items, and water containers. The lack of drinking water is going to kill you within a week. So if you haven't got any water intake after a week, you're pretty much done. So anything water related has to come first, and then food second. It goes without saying that food is a close second in your list. However, believe it or not, the human body can survive without food for weeks. You'll see on some of these lists that they're putting things like torches and batteries, phone chargers, and other items first. So that's why I was showing you those booklets. Some of these governments are putting all these. Make sure you got your phone charger. That's at the top of your list, and then at the bottom of the list is water. And you think, well, where's the logic in that? But regardless of whether these lists are in order or priority, it doesn't matter. Your planned lists have to be thought out, strategically created, and until you have water and food sorted, don't look at the other items or worry about the other suggested items. That's my advice to you. However, actually, I'll tell you what I did find on my researching this topic. This is old, but This was more useful information in a UK booklet released to the public back in 1980. So that's 45 years ago. So it seems like that, back in the day, should we say, the UK government were probably a lot more savvy than they are today. But I'm just going to say page 7. Yeah, drinking water. There you go. They're talking about drinking water. Number 1, food, portable radio, and spare batteries. So this is back in 1980. This booklet was out there. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that the UK government hasn't always been a bunch of idiots, although they probably have. But never mind. Let's move on. As you can see, this booklet actually is concentrating on what to do under nuclear attack. And before anyone goes on one, that is not what we're talking about here. We're looking at the threat of a world war possibly kicking off on our doorsteps, and what governments around the world, certainly across Europe, are doing to prepare their populations. And it's clear right now that the UK government are way, way behind everyone else. That's all I'm doing. I'm just pointing out that fact. However, some might say, is that because the UK is an island and we're geographically located in a safer place? Then let's say, other said countries across Europe are in a more dangerous place. Well, that obviously depends on what the threat is and what we're preparing for. As I pointed out in my last video, part 1, that although we're further west, probably as far west as you can get in Europe, we've got threats only 50 miles off the coast of the UK. Russian submarines swimming around the coast of the UK can launch a ballistic missile 50 to 100 miles off of the coast of Wales. It would take 46 seconds to hit the centre of London. Okay, so we're by no means, in a safe place. But anyway, let's not go down that road. We do not have to have neither Russian boots, tanks rolling down our streets of the UK, nor artillery shells landing in our backyards to be sort of under attack. We are more likely to be talking about, this is in the UK, we're more likely to be talking about hybrid warfare attacks. Taking out critical infrastructure here in the UK and the possibility of a ballistic missile attack on a counter-force or counter-value target launched from a Russian submarine, as I've just said, 100 miles off the coast of Great Britain. It's as simple as that. Either way, the UK are simply slowly drip feeding everyone here at the moment, so much so that 90% of the population actually believe that they're safe. Nothing's going to happen to them, and if it does, then the government's going to come running along, wiping their asses and spoon feeding them. I think that's what I think. That seems to be the mentality of a lot of people. Right, I'm just going to be finishing this off because I was sidetracked there. So it seems when reading this information online, the 72 hours is enough time for the governments to get their own plans kick-started and their shit in order, when going into war mode. One would hope that the 72 hours is enough time to keep the panic buyers away from the shops and for, people to get their heads around what's actually happening, what that means to them and their families, and what the fuck to do next. Governments, as pointed out in the first video this morning, before this one, they have plans to action and follow during times of crisis, whether that be a power outage or a military conventional attack on the country. Governments, governing bodies, businesses, and organizations will all go into crisis mode, with each of them hopefully knowing what the hell to do, and pushing out actions and sort of instructions to the populations. So in return, they would like all of us or us to, take just some initiative and at least lessen the burden by making sure you and your family can sort of cope, live, and survive for a minimum of 3 days without the government sort of being there to wipe your ass. Sounds easy, yeah? Well, for millions around the world, this simple task isn't easy. And that's not because, getting some supplies and items together into a box or a bag for 3 days is difficult, but, and this is a big but, getting the masses to actually accept the fact that their worlds can potentially be turned upside down. It's better known as normalcy or normality bias, or some people call those people NPCs, or ostriches, putting their heads in the sand. It's denial or ignorance or whatever you want to call it. It is that will get you and your family killed. So this scenario wasn't written into, the playbook of life, was it? We weren't taught any of this at school. Most of us know absolutely no one that's experienced a world war. We've never experienced this crisis, so it's not going to happen on their shift. These conflicts and wars are a million miles away and can't possibly affect us here. And what the hell am I supposed to tell the kids? See, the list of reasons and excuses for not being prepared, especially now we're being told to prepare, still will not sink into millions of people's heads, which is a massive shame, but it's true. As I've said before, I'm just going to finish this off now. I'm not here to turn your worlds upside down, nor am I here to sort of scaremonger. See, you can only scaremonger if the topic of conversation isn't real. I'm here, ladies and gents, to firstly make you aware of some of the possibilities that could happen on your watch, and where you live. I'm here to tell you about some possible threats to be aware of, and ultimately push you into the mindset of some common sense and preparedness. I do not work for the government, thank fuck, or neither intelligence nor the military anymore. So, what do I know? But let's get one thing straight here. If the shit hits the fan, do you want to be that one person that stood there in front of your partner and children looking up to you and saying, Mum, Dad, what does this mean and what are we going to do? There's no way in a million years, guys, that I'm going to be that dad stood there saying, sorry, guys, I've got no fucking idea. Anyway, to summarize things, um, around the world, things are changing and unfortunately changing for the worst. So do yourselves a favor and make sure you can make a potentially shitty situation not so bad after all. If you haven't started already, you're new to prepping and or new to the channel, I urge you to spend some time understanding what's going on and what all of this really means. Go back and watch the first 20, I think it's the first 20 videos of this channel where at a very high level, we've covered many sort of critical details that you should know. I'm based in the UK and a lot of my content is talking about UK kind of stuff, but the information is useful for people across Europe and across the world. But it should help you make a decision on whether or not you or anyone else around you should be sort of preparing. Get yourselves military fit, or just get fit will do, and infantry aware, or at the very least prepared savvy. Keep your ear to the ground, guys, and just prepare accordingly. I'm going to do a third video straight after this, and what we're going to do is just look at the actual contents of an ideal emergency preparedness pack, box, or kit bag.